All right. Okay, I realized I was muted for the first 30 seconds. I hope that you are here tuning in. So, welcome to our weekly live show at Pros and Babes, where we help you turn the motherhood penalty into your greatest advantage if you are a mom with a demanding career, maybe a mom in STEM. What is the motherhood penalty? It's the career, financial, emotional, and physical consequences that arise when you become a mom, right? You had a lot more time before you had kids, and now you have a child and you're navigating a lot. And one of the key components of the quote unquote motherhood penalty is the financial impact. So, my question today is, should you even care about this $1 million wealth gap? My short answer, yes, of course. But I have a more nuanced answer that is, it depends. It depends, right? Let me give you some context. So if one of the reasons you may not care too much about this is maybe you are a relatively new mom and you don't have the bandwidth to think about your finances and the $1 million wealth gap, right? Or maybe you're making enough money and you don't feel like it's important for you to add $1 million to your net worth. So for context, women spend about 40% of their time outside of the workforce, compared to 28% for men. We will live longer, we will retire earlier, and we will likely spend a lot of time caregiving for children, for the elderly, but often for a sick husband, right? And that has an impact on our finances. When you take those caregiving breaks, it affects your career trajectory, your momentum, your income. And some reports have shown that this amounts to $1 million over a lifetime of lost bonuses, lost advancement opportunities, lost wages, et cetera, et cetera. So, and for you, if you're a STEM professional, that could be even more because your earning potential is quite high and the losses could be even higher. This is why I think you should really care about the $1 million wealth gap, especially because I believe, and I've seen that there are ways that you could likely offset it. And this is why we work with a wealth planner in our Money Month in the Mom BA program. We are in it right now. It runs from October until mid-November, where we come together as a group of high-powered moms, STEM moms, STEAM moms, to build our wealth plans and to look at different strategies to ultimately avoid this $1 million wealth gap. So I think that's why you should definitely care about the $1 million wealth gap, because with the right planning, there's ways to definitely offset it. I think if we start talking about it earlier, with all the strategies I've seen and the wealth plans that the women design in the Mom BA program and with our partner, they are really on track to equalize their finances and to build more wealth. So many of these strategies don't require necessarily raising your income, but they require reallocating your assets, and that's worth absolutely looking at, right? Some people think that, I have to make more money to be able to build more wealth, but there are many strategies that our partner teaches us about that actually don't require making more money. The cash flow in the childbearing years can feel very stressful. I'm going to give you some examples in Canada, but it can feel unpredictable. Like you're thinking about so many things: future childcare costs, a will, saving for your kid's future, maybe a reduced income when you're taking maternity leave, EI amounts and what they're going to look like. What are the tax differences that are going to come, the different benefits that will come your way. We're very lucky in Canada to have the Canada Child Benefit, right? And federal and provincial childcare grants. So all of that can have a huge impact on where your income is coming from, and it can feel overwhelming. I'll give you an example. When I was going on my first maternity leave, when I worked for a company, I called my HR department and tried to find out what my benefits would look like. I was getting a few $100s in a TFSA account as part of the benefits I had selected. And when I was going on maternity leave, I was wondering, well, they keep paying me this money. Will I have to pay into that from my savings and to get that benefit, right? So that was one thing that affected my planning. Another one, I was paying over $2,000 for a bundled insurance policy. That was a life insurance policy, but that also had to do with some disability. And it amounted, I think, to $2,500. And I wasn't sure whether I would need that on maternity leave. So I had to fight quite hard to be able to get a copy of that document. Finally, when you get EI benefits, you still have to save to pay some taxes. So my experience of my financial planning for my first maternity leave was stressful, and I didn't know who to turn to. We did find a for-fee financial planner, but still there was a lot of uncertainty. And I know that even for people who are doing quite well, just not being able to know and to project things can make it hard for you to know, well, how much money should I be spending? What should I be budgeting? How am I going to spend my time with my kids? Can I afford to travel? Which gear should I buy? All of that, regardless of your income level, there's unpredictability. And plus, especially with a first baby, many moms don't know how they're going to feel about work. Some of them have important careers, but they are considering whether they should take a step back. Your mind will probably change a couple of times, right? Which is why we're talking about this in this community, because we want to bring you together to ask those questions, to ask those discussions, and it allows us to answer those more personalized questions together, often cobbling answers from experience, because the financial industry was built by men and for men. And that means that there are maybe not many resources out there. I was even talking to a fellow entrepreneur and a mother, and we were lamenting how it's so hard to get information for financial planning for entrepreneurs, for how to pay yourself, which benefits you're eligible for, what does your cash flow look like. So that's why those conversations are really, really important. Now, you may be wondering, where do I even get started? Because I gave you examples of how it can feel very confusing to do this planning at this stage of your life. So let's start with your values and vision of success. The most important questions are about that. Is wealth part of your values, right? And I use the word wealth very much, very intentionally, because comprehensive wealth planning has many pillars, from income and debt management to insurance to saving for your kids' future to legacy planning to tax planning and estate planning. There are a couple of more, but these are the ones that come into a comprehensive wealth building plan. It's not just having a cash flow plan or a restricted financial plan, but it's looking at the big picture, and it takes a couple of years to build. So number one, you have to figure out whether wealth building is part of your values. For me, it is not in my top values, but it is a secondary value, as wealth in the service of good. Part of me does care about building wealth. Another part of me doesn't care that much about money, but ultimately, as I have more kids, as our lifestyle needs change, it needs to be an inevitable part of my reality. And I try to have a positive mindset about it, right? So is it part of your values? And then is building financial freedom and legacy part of your long-term vision? In the Mombi program, we built a long-term 25-year vision. Wealth is part of those 12 pillars. And we help you think about what is that number for you, right? What's that number that you would like to have? That's your net worth. And that would enable you to live the lifestyle you want in all 12 pillars that you want and achieve your goals. So it's a complex topic, but you have to start somewhere. And knowing whether wealth planning, financial freedom, and legacy building is part of your long-term vision as a working mom will provide you the answer as to whether you should take action on the wealth gap. And I'm sure that anybody listening to this, it doesn't matter how well you're doing financially overall, there's always progress to be made to be more in alignment with your values and with what you want to build. So you start with your mindset, right? You're probably still able to expand your goals and dream bigger. The first exercise I would like you to do is write down your desired net worth number at 65 or at 60. Like, think about when your kids are going to be adult and you're entering that different chapter of your life, right? And if you are in a dual income household of professionals and your number is less than 2 or 3 million, you're very likely not dreaming big enough. Right? So I encourage you to maybe double that number, and then to talk to me or to ask me about our wealth partner, because there are strategies that you're probably not aware of where you could expand your wealth building and your impact. Number two, think about where your money beliefs came from. There's a reason why you wrote down the number you wrote down. And when I started doing this work with women, most of them think that wanting more money is greedy. Why would I want to be a millionaire, right? Like, how is it going to help the world? But I will challenge you with this question. That one might be, depending on where you are in your trajectory. If you're here, maybe you felt like you've experienced the motherhood penalty, but um, we can't change the world if we're not comfortable talking and managing money. If we want to transform the world for ourselves and for our daughters and our nieces in a way that will be more reflective of who we are, and maybe the word motherhood penalty will be studied in their classes as something that their moms experienced in the past, but now they don't have to because they're empowered enough to think about money and power. Well, if we women are not comfortable thinking about and growing our wealth, how can we really start influencing the world? This is why I talk about this so much. If you want things to change for you and for your daughters or nieces, you need to be money and savvy. If you're investing for your retirement, this money is going into companies that are either making the world a better place for moms and girls, or they're making it worse. We went over a book called Invisible Women. We know that a lot of medical and scientific research is done based mainly on a white cisgender male, right? Women's hormonal cycles, women's safety, all of that is not studied in the same way. And so we don't get access to the same level of healthcare that somebody who is operating on a 24-hour testosterone cycle is. So where you invest your money, how you spend your money directly impacts how you're building the future, right? Even everyday money decisions drive the future and outcomes for your daughters. So are you going to pretend that this topic doesn't exist, or are you going to try to change things for yourself and for the next generation, right? So it is important to consider your money beliefs. One of the exercises that we like to do in the Mombi community is to think, if you had $1 million or $1 billion, how would you allocate that money? So another question you can ask yourself is, how would your life change if you had an extra $1 million to work with? How would it impact your family's future to pass on $1 million tax-free to the next generation? One of our biggest tax bills will come after death. If you're working hard to sock money away in all those accounts, but what happens when you want to pass that on to your kids to give them a leg up in the world in alignment with a certain value system? It's not just about passing on money, but it's also passing on a mindset and skills. So that's a question that you can ask yourself. If I gave you tomorrow 100,000 or even $1 million, I would ask you to divide it in 4 buckets: fun and adventure money, money that you would spend on your kids in whichever way, maybe like a responsible savings, responsible choices that would amount to savings and paying down debt. And then investing in 3 types of businesses you care about that are making the world a better place. Maybe there's a company, I know one, it's called, oh goodness, I've heard, the founder is Danica Kelly, MyNormative, and they are studying, they're gathering data. I hope I'm saying this right, but they're gathering gender-based data that has to do about hormones, so that can be incorporated into scientific research, and then that data can better reflect how women's hormonal cycles are affected by different drug uses. Now, Danica, forgive me if I didn't say this fully right the way it should be, but this is just one example of a company that, let's say, you could possibly invest it at some stage that would make the world a better place for girls, daughters, and even yourself down the road, right? So think about that. That's an exercise that you could do. If I gave you either $100,000 or $1 million, and you divide it into 4 buckets, and where would that money go, right? 25% has to be on fun and adventure. 25% should be allocated to your kids in some capacity, whether it's fun or education or helping them start a business. 25% would be like responsible choices, either savings or paying down debt. And 25% would be investing in 3 types of businesses that you care about. How would you spend that money? So those are questions to reflect on the $1 million wealth gap for women. Right now, as we're recording this session, we have done 4 sessions with our wealth partner in Wealthverse and the Mombi program. We've done a lot of mindset work to set our wealth goals. A couple of things that I've covered here, we did in the Mombi program: understanding your money beliefs and setting more ambitious goals. and then attending sessions on how you can actually reach those goals, which we encourage you to set dreaming bigger. We've looked at a mock financial plan and the millions of dollars of difference in taxes that good planning can make. So Wealthverse showed us two scenarios, a dual career couple who was investing money in their different accounts and their different assets, and then what proper tax and estate planning looks like. And there was literally millions of dollars of difference in terms of what was passed on to their kids because they had the proper tools in place, right? So we also look at what a retirement paycheck looks like and where the different funds come from and the different benefits in Canada, and how you can use the different accounts that you've built over your lifetime to reach your goals. So it's been super interesting so far. We have a few more sessions with them on how to invest like a mother and on a financial planning checklist. And then we'll be doing some accountability and tons of exercises to move the needle on our wealth goals. Remember that the most of the financial planning industry is designed by men and for men. And what we do here is really different because we talk about motherhood and your arc as a caregiver, and that really impacts your financial planning. So when we bring many of these successful mothers together, we ask a bunch of questions, we inspire answers, and we take action and accountability. And that does make, tens, if not hundreds, if not of thousands, if not millions of dollars, truly for many it was millions of dollars of a difference over a lifetime, right? So today's discussion was about whether you should care about the $1 million wealth gap. I would say the short answer is, of course, yes, right? You're here for a reason because you want to reach your full potential as a mom and as a professional, and the financial piece is huge. There's so many aspects of it. Some of my clients are working with me for a fourth, even fifth year, and every year they make progress on their financial and wealth plan. But it takes awareness, it takes the right information, it takes the right community for you to think about it as a mother. And finally, our final webinar for STEM moms this year is on navigating anxiety as a working mom. So register at tinyurl.com/STEM mom. It's your last opportunity in 2023 to network with amazing moms like you. If you've enjoyed this show, please leave me a comment. Let me know that you've watched. Let me know about an action that you're willing to take, and spread the word with people around you. Have a great afternoon. Thanks a lot.